So in this class we will be discussing the pond construction and its maintenance in aquaculture, or how an aquacultural pond is constructed and what are the different steps involved in the construction of aquacultural pond and what are the methods used for the maintenance of an aquacultural pond. So normally this is how an aquacultural pond will be looking. Different parts will be there and we will be going to that. So before that, one important steps in an aquacultural pond is to begin with is selecting a site. Site selection is one of the first condition or first requirement in an aquacultural pond. And there are number of factors which has to be considered while selecting the location of the land. One is the topography. Topography means normally how the land will be appearing. That is known as the surface features of the earth is known as the topography. So generally how the land will be, whether it is a flat land or slightly sloping land. Most of the time is gently sloping land is usually preferred. So that is how the most of the aquacultural pond, one side should be slightly raised, another side should be slightly lower. So that should be the nature of an aquacultural pond. So certain area is normally selected, or we have to slightly slope the mud so that one side will be higher, another side will be lower. Second is the type of soil or soil type. Most of the time we will be using a clay soil, a soil with higher proportion of clay, or a loamy soil with 20 to 30% of clay content. So that should be that much amount of clay should be there. Advantage of more amount of clay is that this seepage of water, that is water going into the soil, that can be reduced if the clay content is more. Otherwise, when we are adding water into the soil, most of the water will be seeping into the bottom soil, and that will be increasing our need for water usage. And third factor is the water source. We have to ensure a reliable and sustainable water source. So if we are maintaining a water pond here, every now and then we have to replenish, or we have to fill the pond with the water. So there should be some mechanism for pumping water into the tank whenever there is a shortage of water. Even if it is an aquarium, after few weeks we can see that the water level might be slowly going down. The same thing happens in an aquacultural pond. So we have to replenish or refill the water with new water. So for that there should be some river or a well or a rainwater source should be there. Otherwise this water availability can be a major problem. Then accessibility. If we are keeping the aquacultural pond far away from the main roads, because during the time of harvesting, collection of the fish, this fish has to be transported to other places. For that, freezer type truck should reach our aquacultural site. So that if we are keeping the aquacultural pond within an area where there is no approach road are there, that will be increasing our cost of transportation, and that can reduce our profit. So that is also an important factor. Proximity means nearness to the major roads for easy transportation of both inputs. Inputs means whatever materials which are needed for the rearing of fish are known as the input material, and also the harvested fish. And ecological consideration should be mentioned. Avoid flood prone area, because if we are cultivating rearing fish in an area which is highly prone, or there is high chance of water flooding during the monsoon season, what will be the effect is that during the monsoon rain, most of the fish will be escaping from our pond. So that will be reducing our profit. So that is also a major consideration. We should not cultivate in a pond or in a farm or in a paddy field where there is a higher chance of flooding during monsoon season. Otherwise, because during monsoon time there will be filling of the paddy field and the fish can escape. So that is the ecological consideration. Then this is normally how an aquacultural pond will be looking. You can see that the pond bottom slope, there is a slight sloping, not too much slope, and there are certain raised sides. These raised sides are normally called by the name dike. This area are known as dike. In Malayalam we call it as varambu. So in paddy field you might have observed that is called known by the name dike. Now this is also a picture of a aquacultural pond placed in a water body. Then second is the design of the pond. Design depends on the type of species that we are cultivating, whether it is tilapia or carp or rohu or atropos or prawn or crab or mussel. Whatever type of fish that we are rearing, that will be affecting the design of the pond. Generally, in every pond we are having 3 different compartments. One is a nursery pond, grow out pond and breeding pond. Nursery pond means smaller and shallow for rearing fry or fingerling. These babies of the fish or young ones of the fish will be grown in a separate chamber. That is why here we can find two compartments are there. Sometimes 3 compartments are there. Purpose is that if the young ones of the fish or babies of the fish are grown in a same tank, sometimes the adult fish may feed on this young fish. That can reduce our profit. So that is why these smaller fish has to be reared in a separate container or separate chamber. Then grow out ponds, larger ponds for raising fish or shrimp to market. That is mainly this grow out pond will be the larger chamber. Their purpose is to rear the larger fish. That is the meaning of the larger pond. Then we have breeding pond. The term is very clear. Breeding means reproduction. So in order to facilitate reproduction or breeding, we will be keeping this mature fish in a separate chamber, so that they will not have much disturbance and it will be facilitating the breeding or egg laying. So these are the 3 different types of ponds which we can see in most of the aquacultural pond. Then pond dimension. The term is what is the size. These are the terms. Typical size is 0.5 to 2 hectares for grow out pond. So size of the pond will be 0.5 to 2 hectare. So that is that is the size of most of the pond. And depth of the pond. What is this is called the depth. This portion is known as the depth from here to here. So that depth of the pond should be around 1 to 2 meter. Most of the time we are finding a depth of 1.5 meter for the shrimp. So a depth more than 2 meter is not suitable or not ideal, because the sunlight may not be able to penetrate to the bottom of the pond. So that is why we are keeping a depth of 1 meter or 2 meter. That is sufficient. Maximum 2 meter depth is enough for most of the aquacultural pond. And shape of the pond is rectangular ponds are more common for ease of water flow and also for harvesting. A pond that is shaped like this is always more suitable, a rectangular, because when we are when we are capturing the fish, the net has to be lowered into that. So if it is a circular pond, it is more difficult. So normally a rectangular pond will be always easier for collecting fish during the time of harvesting. So that is the advantage of that. Then coming to the inlet and outlet water, there is a normally an inlet channel designed for controlled water flow. Use screens to prevent predators or unwanted species, because here you can see that there will be an area known as this is the aquacultural pond. There are two types of channel. One is an inlet channel for bringing water into the tank, and one there is an outlet channel for taking water waste water from the aquacultural tank to the outside. And normally both these channels will be protected by some kind of net or screen, so that fish may not escape in from the aquacultural tank to the outside, or unwanted fish may not enter into our aquacultural tank. Because when we are bringing water from a river source, there is every possibility that some kind of fish belonging to other species can enter into our aquacultural pond. That has to be prevented, and for that we are keeping some net or screen in the inlet water source, so that foreign fish or other fish species may not enter into our aquacultural tank. So these are the two channels which are mainly used for water collection and water removal. One is known as inlet channel, other is known as the outlet channel. Outlet channel will be always for proper drainage, because during the time of rainy season, this excess water or extra water has to be quickly removed. Otherwise there will be flooding, and because of flooding the many of our valuable aquacultural fish that we are rearing may escape from the pond. So in order to avoid that, the excess water that is reaching the aquacultural pond has to be removed, and for that there should be some mechanism. Then embankment. Embankment is mainly the side. These sides are known by the name. These sides are known by the name. These are known by the name embankment. So this embankment should be always slightly raised. It is well compacted to prevent seepage and collapse. See this. You can see that if this embankment, that they should be sufficiently strong. It should be made of soil, but still it should be very strong, and it should not facilitate too much water seeping into the soil. That should also be prevented. So that is the embankment. It should be very strong and compact, so that it will not collapse. Collapse means destroyed. Then slope of the embankment, normally 2:1 or 3:1, horizontal to vertical slope. That is the meaning of that. Grass planting helps to reduce erosion. So one advantage of planting small grass here is that it can prevent, here if we are planting grass, that can prevent the soil erosion. So that is also one factor that can be considered during the building of a dike or embankment. Then next is the pond construction process. There are the 2-3 processes here. One is excavation, compaction, waterproofing and accessory. Coming to the excavation, mark the area and excavate the desired depth. Normally a depth of 1 meter or 1.5 meter or 2 meter. That is the maximum depth that is needed for a aquacultural pond. So we have to dig the soil, and the depth is maximum depth of 1.5 or 2 meter is sufficient. Use heavy machinery for larger pond. You know, nowadays if we are digging a soil, most of the time you will be using some JCB. So that digging of the soil will be very easy. So if it is a larger pond, we have to use some kind of JCB always. So then second aspect is compaction. Compact the pond bottom and sides to minimize the seepage. What we is that we will be using some kind of soil hammer, and we will be using that soil hammer. The soil will be made more stronger and more compact, so that water seepage can be reduced. Then waterproofing, use clay lining or synthetic material like high density polyethylene. This clay or high density polyethylene can prevent the water seeping into it. So that is the advantage of using clay coating or clay lining. So if the water is very porous, so that water will easily seep into the bottom soil, so that even if we are pumping a lot of water, that water may not be remaining there. Nowadays what we are using is that, as in this our tank, we are keeping a tarpaulin sheet, and after digging the soil we will keep the tarpaulin sheet, and it is in the tarpaulin sheet that we are growing the fish, so that there is no problem of seeping of water into the bottom soil. Otherwise every time we have to pump new water, and that will be increasing the cost of water replenishment. Then accessories, install aeration system. If you go there and see that there is a pump which is working 24 hours, that pump will be filtering the water and resupplying the purified water. That will be increasing the aeration level. And feeders and shelters are needed. If the that is, feeders means the mechanism for giving food, and shelter means the fish also needs some kind of hiding place. So that is, you can see that we have selected an area which is normally very shady area. So direct sunlight is not possible. There is no chance of direct sunlight. Direct sunlight can increase the growth of plankton. So if some kind of shade is there, that will be good, so that the phytoplankton will not grow in large quantities. So this is regarding the construction process. Then pond preparation before stocking. So just before adding of the fish, we have to go for three steps. One is cleaning, soil testing, and fertilization. Cleaning means if there are any plant material, we have to remove that. We have to remove the plants, weeds, and also predatory organisms should be removed. These aspects are coming under the cleaning. Then soil testing. We have to test the pH of the soil water, pH of the soil, pH of the organic matter, and nutrient content. All these should be checked before introducing the fish. Then fertilization, apply organic manure like cow dung or inorganic fertilizer to promote plankton growth. So advantage of adding this cow dung or artificial fertilizer is that they will be containing lot of phosphate and potassium and nitrogen. This will be stimulating the growth of plankton. More plankton in the pond means more food for the fish. So this is the steps before the pond introduction or pond preparation before the stocking. Then we have to also look for water quality management. In case of water quality management, fill the pond with water, check for appropriate parameters like pH. pH should be between 6.5 and 8.5. Slightly alkaline pH is always good, and the dissolved oxygen should be above 5 milligram per liter, and the ammonia level should be less than 0.5 milligram per liter. So these factors should be noted while we are rearing or maintaining the pond. Then disinfection. Use lime or potassium permanganate to sterilize the pond. You know what is the purpose? That sometimes bacteria or virus may be multiplying in that. To prevent their growth, we can use some potassium permanganate solution or calcium oxide, so that these bacteria may not survive there. Then coming to the last one, which is the stocking. As far as the stocking are concerned, stocking mainly refers to the introduction of the fish. So different type of fish species can be introduced in an aquacultural pond. We have been rearing tilapia. Advantage of tilapia is that it's a very fast growing fish. Within a period of 6 months, they will reach adult size. Some fish may reach 1 or 12 months. So normally, if the growth period of the fish is very limited, 4 months or 6 months, our profit margin will be increasing. So that is the advantage of growing fish which has a shorter lifespan. But we have to also take into consideration what is the market value. For example, tilapia may not be it's not a profitable fish. Its value is usually around 200 rupees per kg. But if we are using Etro Plus, the value will be doubled, maybe 400 or more than 400. So based on the value, profitability and demand, we have to select the fish. So that is here we are growing tilapia because tilapia is a fish that doesn't need much care, because in a college we may not be able to monitor its water quality and other things every now and then. It's not possible. So that is why we are growing tilapia here. Acclimate the fish or shrimp to pond before releasing them. That is, if it is a first freshly constructed pond, the first we have to fill it with the water. Then for some time we have to remove that water. Then we have to introduce new water and allow that water to be there so that planktonic organism may be growing. So after 1 or 2 weeks of this pond preparation, we can start introducing the new fish. Then stock at density recommended. Too much fish or too is not good. If we are introducing large number of young ones into the pond, when they are growing, they may not get enough food. So that will be also affecting their growth potential and also the productivity of the pond. So these are some of the important features that we have to consider. Then coming to the next one, maintenance practices. What are the important maintenance practices? One is water quality maintenance. Coming to water quality maintenance, basically we are checking for the pH, acidity of the water, or high ammonia content, or lower oxygen content, high temperature and high turbidity. Turbidity means the water appear more darker so that the photosynthetic activity may not be taking place. So in such a situation we have to remove the water. Then use aerator to maintain oxygen level. So that is another thing that we have to do. Then partial water exchange to prevents buildup of. So normally what we are doing is that after 1 or 2 months we will be removing the water. Not completely we will remove. We will remove 3/4 of the water or 50% of the water. Then we will introduce another 50%. So by this mechanism, we can reduce the amount of ammonia presented, waste material presented. Then embankment maintenance, repair cracks or erosion promptly. So that is an important thing. If there are any problems with that, otherwise what happens is that there will be a collapsing of the embankment. Avoid tree planting near embankments to prevent root damage, because the roots of the big trees, they can grow into the pond and take a lot of water from the pond. So that is also a problem. Then predator control, install net or fences to deter birds. Birds can be a major problem. Last year when we were rearing fish, nearly 50% of the fish were lost by these egrets. Egrets were catching the fish and they also destroyed the tarpaulin sheet. And as a result, what happened is the water were reducing every day. So it was after completely removing the water, we understood that it was the birds which has caused this damage of net. Then weed and algae control. If plants are growing, we have to remove it. Remove weeds manually or use herbicide. If it is a large tank, we have to use herbicide. Then algal blooms can be controlled by using lime or digicide. If too much algae are there, they have to be destroyed. And for that, adding lime may be very good. Then disease management, quarantine new stock before introduction. When we are introducing some fish into an already working pond, there will be some fish there. When a new fish are introduced into that, sometimes they will be bringing a lot of disease. So that is why quarantine the new fish for some time in a separate tank, then only we should introduce. Monitor fish for signs of stress or disease. So this disease can be a major problem. Then harvesting. Use net or seine for partial or complete harvesting. Most of the time we will be doing a partial harvesting. so that only the adult fish or mature fish or large size fish will be caught, and remaining fish will be allowed to remain there and grow into the larger size. Then plan for regular harvesting. So if you are harvesting larger fish every 3 months, so that there is no problem of overcrowding, and we also get a regular supply of fish. Then pond harvest and post harvest and pond maintenance. Remove sludge and excess organic matter. That is one aspect should be considered. Repair any damage to the embankment, the sides of the pond. That has to be kept in a compacted, very solid way. Then dry the pond and expose it to sunlight. That is, after one harvesting, remove the water completely, then dry the pond. And the advantage of that is some bacteria or virus or pathogenic organisms are there, predators are, all this will be destroyed by exposing the pond to sunlight. Apply lime to restore soil pH. So these are some factors that we can do while maintaining a pond. That means this maintenance of the pond is not an easy thing. We have to regularly monitor, and otherwise our profit level will be reduced. We will be investing a lot of money and our returns may be very poor.